Hello.
Welcome to Hugo Girl, the Hugo award-winning podcast consisting of me, Haley.
Me, Lori.
And me, Amy.
And then there's Kevin over there.
Hi.
Hey.
Well, we have a jam-packed episode with lots of special things this week.
That's
So
true.
we read The Wind Whales of Ishmael by Philip José Farmer, but first, let's do any housekeeping that we have.
Okay. Well, first, we want to say thanks to Chris Wants a Drumstick on Blue Sky, because Chris Wants a Drumstick is the one who told us about this book and recommended it. So thank you.
I hope you got your drumstick, Chris.
I hope you did too. Because it's been a long time with no drumstick, if not.
And he's got the other ones, and he needs two.
Maybe he's just always in a perpetual state of want.
I was thinking of a chicken leg.
Oh, I was thinking
I was thinking of a bum.
I like bands, so.
Oh, I thought of a chicken leg or the ice cream cone.
Oh man, the ice cream cone's so good.
I like this Rorschach test. It's weird that the vegetarian thought of the chicken leg, but yeah.
That was the only kind of chicken that I liked when I was a kid and we used to
I
get
think
KFC.
you're probably right, actually. I bet it's food.
I was a absolute drumstick kid. It's just, it fits in your hand.
That's true.
Chris, if you could write in and clarify which drumstick
what drumstick are we
you are
talking about?
yearning for.
That is
on
like a
Blue
Rorschach
Sky.
test. Okay. Other thing, I have an amended soap stuff. If you have not read The Sparrow, skip ahead like 20 seconds. So when Emilio is in his prison being a sex slave and decides he's going to kill the next person who opens the door, and then it just happens to be the child that he helped raise, that is an obvious soap stuff oversight. What is wrong with me? I'm deeply embarrassed, and I apologize to everyone who's offended by my soap stuff. Okay.
He made a promise to the air, and then he did it. So
That was almost exactly 20 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm good. Bean update?
Bean update.
So Amber wrote in and emailed us to say, I love your podcast and look forward to listening immediately after each episode is released. This morning on my commute, one of you, that would be Haley, said that you obtained some dried fava beans and now you're looking forward to making them. Can we please get an update on how it goes? And Amber said the reason for this inquiry is that our fava bean discussion caused a flashback to the time, quote, I attempted to make dried fava beans. Mine were dried with the membrane still on them, and I attempted every internet tip I could find to get the membranes off. I ended up with like 6 edible beans, completely destroyed fingernails, and a ragged psyche after hours of work. If your fava beans were not dried with the membrane on them, what brand are they?
Sounds like literal torture.
Yeah, so to preface this, every week I make one big pot of beans, and I eat on it all week. For like, in between, like, if I go out for dinner with friends, or I just like need a snack. It's good, cheap protein, and it's delicious. I make them with, carrots and celery and onions and chicken broth. That's right. But I was at the Your DeKalb Farmers Market a couple weeks ago when I saw them dried, and I was like, I've never had a dried fava bean. Generally, most people buy them canned, so I purchased them dried and did copious amounts of research. Everybody says a little bit different on how you cook them. I soak them for 30 hours.
Oh, God.
Oh, wow.
Which is fun. So to preface this too, I also work from home, so it's kind of like having a sourdough starter. It's just something I thought about every couple
It's
hours.
a little feed your beans some water.
Little friend
It was
you have in
fine.
the kitchen.
So I kept an eye on them. After 30 hours, they were not very pliable. Like usually I soak like pinto beans or lima beans for like 4 hours, cook them, not a big deal. These take more effort and more work. That Friday morning, I think, I then took them out of the water they've been draining and that I replaced twice, and then I boiled them for 2 hours.
Are they in the fridge when you soak them?
No. I just get like,
room temp
on like my counter. So then soaked them, boiled them for 2 hours, and then I peeled them in between like meetings at work and like on my lunch break. And you have to like pop them out, and some don't. It's kind of like pistachios. Like some pop out and some don't, and then you like throw that one away.
When you say peeled them,
they have a little like skin.
They have a membrane, so it's not like soaking a pinto bean.
Is that unique to fava beans?
I don't know, but every other dried bean, and I love my Acobas. I'm a Forrest Gump, this shit. I like pinto beans, black beans, lima beans, butter beans, green peas, yellow peas. I've never had to peel a bean because there's a lot of beans.
No,
I
didn't know about peeling beans.
Yeah,
other than like, edamame, like popping it out of the
So
pod.
is a peeled fava bean a fantasy food? Like a non-membrane fava bean, if you didn't have to peel it?
No, but
that only exists in science fiction.
Yeah, I'll get there too. So you could just buy canned fava beans that are peeled, and it's like 30 times.
Okay, so
better.
we live in the future. All right,
yeah,
sweet.
So then it was like lunchtime on Friday, and I had work to do. So I was like, well, I don't know what I want to do yet. So I kept them in the fridge until Monday. And then Monday, I decided to make full madames, which is like the national breakfast of Egypt, which is like You cook them with cumin seed that I pounded from scratch, and then garlic, and then tomatoes and onions and all this stuff. And it was fine. I mean, it was good. I don't know if I would ever do it again.
Were they?
Sounds like a lot of work.
So were they sufficiently softened by Monday?
Yeah, because then on Monday morning, I also boiled them again with cumin for another 30 minutes.
So a whole weekend in the fridge plus extra parboiling.
Yeah.
And so did you peel them?
Well, so I peeled them all on Friday. So they were sitting in my fridge in like a little, the thing that the guy from the Bear drinks water out of.
Oh.
So because I didn't know what I wanted to do with them, but at that point they were like ready. They were peeled fava beans that were mostly done.
And how was the peeling process?
Well, I sent y'all a photo, and we can put them in the show notes.
Yeah, I didn't know. I looked at the photo, and I
got it. There were skins on one side and beans on the other.
I was still confused about a bean having a skin, so I just wanted to wait and talk to you about it.
It's like if a bean had like a really thick jacket.
And you just one at a time. You just peeled those beans.
Like 300 beans, yeah.
Why do we eat those beans when there are
other
friendlier beans?
I'm sure there's a place where those are the only beans.
Well, and I think it's like
that seems possible.
People that lived in the Middle East 2,000 years ago, this is like their primary protein source.
Yeah.
And they're like ridiculously high in protein.
Okay, so it seemed maybe it was worth the investment.
Back then, yeah.
Someone somewhere has developed a machine that will do this for you.
Sure, must have.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I won't probably do it again. And now I have 3 extra cups of dried fava beans.
That
they
you'll
cost
never eat.
$3. I mean, maybe I will, but it's just
maybe somebody will call in and tell us the correct way to do it.
Well, Amber, there you have it. Yeah. Get them in a can.
This is now a food podcast.
It's been a food podcast before.
True.
I think that's okay.
Actually true, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Now it's going to be a...
We've had literal eating episodes.
That's true.
Now
Drink
it's a
podcast. Shall we do Coke tasting?
Yeah.
Yes. Now let us do a Coke tasting.
So one time in our Calicane episode, I'm not sure why we decided to do it then. I think it's just because Kevin found the space-flavored Coca-Cola a couple years ago. And then we just tasted it, and I thought it was yummy, and I actually think about it weirdly often.
I have no recollection of what it tasted like.
It tasted like cream soda and Coke.
Yes. Yeah, it was very sweet.
That's right.
Yeah.
It didn't taste like steak, which is what space actually smells like.
And I don't think they make it anymore, so.
No, it was like a limited run thing.
Like that's true.
I think it was a limited run thing, and I think the Spice Coke is limited run. So anyway, I was at Publix, and I passed by this big display of spiced Coke, and I just started laughing out loud because I heard Spice in my head. And Dune is coming out this weekend.
Woohoo!
So I thought, it's Dune Coke. So let's have some Dune Coke.
Yeah.
Zendaya's perfume ad.
I'm not seeing it till next Friday because I thought it came out next Friday and my friends bought the tickets.
Womp.
Oh, well.
So
I know how it ends.
I think I'm seeing it Sunday.
I've got Spice, 0 sugar, and Spice, 100% sugar.
0 sugar.
0 sugar. Amy?
I want full fat.
Okay. Kevin?
100% sugar.
All right.
Yeah.
2 diets and 2 OGs. Or rather 2 zeros, since they're like moving away from...
Coke Zero, I am such a fan of. Like, I like Diet Coke, but Coke Zero tastes amazing.
I am 100% a Diet Coke girl.
You can smell that when you open it.
Oh, yeah. It really has a strong smell. I don't know about
All right,
that.
I'm going to guess that it's going to taste like Captain Morgan's.
Or I think it's going to taste like
a
cough
rum and
syrup.
Coke. I think it's going to taste like a rum
In
and
which
Coke.
case, go get the rum.
I think it's going to taste like cough syrup because it actually it says raspberry spiced Coke, which what sense does that make?
Did they both say that?
Yeah.
It is very pink.
Yeah, that's
too.
the thing. Oh, let me get a sound effect.
Nice.
And some pouring.
That's an ASMR
Let's
podcast.
all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves a treat. There you go. Okay. Yeah, this smells terrible. I don't feel good about it.
It smells like a sour raspberry Sour Patch Kid. It's not in the taste.
Oh my God, that's really true. Oh, I'm getting a fake raspberry finish.
No, there's something on the back end there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But like on the front end, it's like just Coke.
Yeah. On the front end, it's Coke. On the back end, it is cough medicine.
I wonder why they would say spiced and not just berry.
I kind of like it. It would taste very good with rum.
Yeah. Oh, it would be like a spice rum.
Kevin, are you still nosing it?
How are the
stretching its legs? Let it stretch its legs.
Yeah, I'm getting the berry from the full sugar,
Berry finish.
which is weird because I just coincidentally had the zero sugar with lunch the other day, and it seemed more just like spicy Coke, and this seems more like berry
I don't
Coke.
taste spice at all. Can I try yours?
Yeah.
I'm going to try the full sugar.
Having recently had an opportunity to drink a lot of Mucinex DM, it's giving me a little bit of. It's giving a little Mucinex DM.
Yeah, Kevin, yours has more. Yours tastes better, obviously.
I kind of preferred the, I haven't done a 1-to-1, but from what I remember, the zero sugar, I kind of prefer the
Here, do a 1-to-1.
I think zero sugar is better.
Oh,
It's weird that I feel like it has more flavor.
I think the real one is better, but I don't taste spice at all. There is no spice melange in this.
My eyes aren't blue.
No.
Yeah, I think because of the chemicalness of the zero sugar, I do get spice from the zero sugar, but I get berry from the sugar.
I do think it tastes different than regular Coke. I taste it.
Yeah,
I like
okay.
it.
Oh, I think it tastes different. I just don't taste spice.
I taste
Well, if
berry.
they hadn't told me it was spice, I wouldn't say spice.
It's funny. It's like raspberry spiced, but like raspberry's not a spice.
This reminds me when you find out that Dr. Pepper is prune flavored, and then after you know that, it tastes like prunes.
It is?
Yeah.
Yeah. In England, it's marketed as a prune beverage.
Oh, really?
You are kidding me.
No, it's true.
I like prunes.
Sparkling prune beverage. Sorry.
Really?
Yep.
I really think prunes are delicious. And I didn't know that like 1 or 2 prunes was plenty. So I got some dried prunes to keep in my desk for emergency snacks. And one day I ate like a half of
Oopsie.
a container.
Oopsie,
And then I
sorry,
was
but-
like, am I dying?
Yeah, the low sugar one doesn't taste the same. That's weird.
Yeah, well, and I like that the rebranding of prunes as dried plums is brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got a good PR person, prunes.
Yeah.
did.
I will call them dried plums if I put them in something because I know people are like, oh, no, like I put them in black cake and I'm like, and dried plums. I don't say prunes because people go, oh no.
No, I'm not old.
So is this Coke, Star Wars, or Lord of the Rings? I'm just gonna say it's thumbs down. I don't care for it.
It was a fun experiment, but I'm just an OG Atlanta Coke girl.
I would purchase this. I would drink that. I'm actually going to go purchase some and try it with Rob.
Oh,
Do you want to take Kevin? Do you want these? Do you want to take this home? Just take these home.
Okay.
Yeah, they're yours.
Take the spice.
I don't need your zero sugar one. That was nasty.
Well, if it were diet and made with good old fashioned aspartame,
I know, right?
bet it would taste better.
What is this?
It's definitely
That's probably Splenda.
giving me Shire more than Spaceship, so I think it's
It
Lord
is
of the Rings.
aspartame.
Yeah, like they went on a date, like
Pick some berries.
a big berry picking
Oh,
day.
it has aspartame and sucralose,
Oh,
and it has sodium benzoate, which is what makes some people taste Diet Coke as bitter.
really?
Yeah. Sodium benzoate, the way you taste it, it's like genetic or something. Like
Yeah.
some people taste it bitter, some people taste it sweet.
I would like a good old fashioned NutraSweet.
I would like a
Coca-Cola
good old
beverage.
fashioned. That sounds delicious.
I'd like a good old fashioned
get
too.
one of those later.
Well, I would always take a Starlight flavored Coke over this thing. And that's that.
The only reason I miss going into the office is we had one of those Coke robot machines where you can do like 1,000 flavors.
Those are so
A
great.
freestyle?
Yeah, so like I would get like the Coke vanilla orange. It was so fun.
Haley's fucking job has a Coke freestyle. Meanwhile, my previous job, I did not even have a working computer. And in the vending machine, I couldn't even buy a bottle of water. It was out of water for like 2 years. I couldn't even buy a bottle of water.
My fancy company doesn't have any snacks. No snack machine, no nothing.
Really?
Nope. We have a coffee machine and a water machine. We do have those two things.
I'm glad you have a water machine. All the water fountains in our building were broken except for the one on my floor.
Jesus Christ.
I know.
Someone in my office recently used his own damn money to buy a different coffee machine because the coffee was so bad that came out of our machine. So it came in one day and it was completely different.
We did that in my previous office.
I've done that in multiple jobs too, yeah.
We brought in our own Keurig and then we got in trouble for bringing in our own Keurig.
It was like an industrial sized one. Like he bought a real one, an office one.
It's like I got a samovar.
I think they might have paid him back. But.
To be fair though, I no longer have an office and I have to go work in different places that are
That's
like
right.
fake coffee
You got to
shops.
buy your own snacks now.
That's true.
Well, we have talked for 17 minutes. I'll put a time marker
just put a warning
in the
on
show
the- on the
notes
thing,
and
yeah.
say skip to 17 minutes
Some
if you
people
don't
are
want to
into
listen.
chit chat. Some people aren't.
I think
Yeah.
people love it. People tell us how much they love it.
That's
People
true.
people tell us how much they love us all the time. Because people aren't going to tell us they hate us to our face.
That's true. Well, they could also just turn it off.
That's true.
It's like when I
we'll
used
never
to,
know.
When I was a college radio DJ and would play like metal songs, people would call and say, "Turn this off," and I'd be like, "You could just change the channel."
You can turn it off.
Why would I turn this
Call
off?
the radio station and say turn it off.
Like every week, and I'm like, "No, you turn it off." One time I played my favorite song to play when I had to go to the bathroom because the bathroom was 3 floors down. So you'd put on like a 10-minute song. So I would play Marquee Moon by Television. So it was like 10 minutes.
It's like we always knew when you were going to the bathroom.
Exactly. Yeah. and one time I came back, I would like run up the stairs and I'd be like, and the next song, blah, 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 blah. And this guy called and he said, I just made love to my wife to that song. She's asleep now. And I was like, too much.
Oh my God.
Weird things happen late at night.
She's asleep already?
I don't know. All right. We read this month The Wind Whales of Ishmael.
We sure did.
By Philip José Farmer. It was published in 1971, and it was not nominated for a Hugo because his other novel, published in 1971, To Your Scattered Body Goes, won it in 1972.
Good job, Philip.
The man can write, and he writes a lot.
He will churn out a book.
Should I dive into the plot summary? All right.
The plot summary is as long as the book.
Basically. And even like the last third of it is just
And it's not
nonsense.
that
I don't even think there is much of a plot. It's just like Ishmael flies around in a boat,
We're about to find out.
gets the girl.
Ishmael, lone survivor of the wreck of the Pequod from Moby Dick,
R.I.P.
published in the 1850s, falls through a rift in time, we think, and lands 1,000,000 years in the future, where the sun is bright red and dying, and evolution has led to some interesting things here on Earth. The seas have receded, and the great fishy beasts of the Pacific have taken to the sky, buoyed by gaseous air bladders. Ishmael, on this new planet, meets Namali, a priestess who lives in the town of Zalara-Pamtra. They learn that her hometown has been destroyed by a rival group using a huge sky jellyfish that's like Jean Jacket in the movie Nope.
Oh, it is like that. That is such a good analogy.
They hitch a ride on huge air whale ships, which have masts and sails all over the place to catch the wind. Namali wants to go see her destroyed city, much like how Katniss had to go see the destroyed District 12 in the Hunger Games to get it. The city's god idol things have been destroyed, and Ishmael rouses the remaining citizens to go attack the other city and retrieve their gods. His payment, taking Namali as his wife. A training montage then takes place as Ishmael builds a huge new ship, teaches the men about combat, invents napalm, and gets repairs going. They slip into Boraganga.
He does invent napalm.
He invents napalm. They slip into Boraganga and fight off various manners of tentacled futuristic creatures. The last 2/3 of the book, in fact, is killing off different types of creatures. This is men's adventure fiction at its finest.
Yep.
They escape after fumbling the idol rescue, but manage to get to their ships and firebomb the town. A huge battle ensues. Then, at the end, Ishmael ends the battle and says, "Hey, we need more babies. Let's make up and combine tribes so we can have more babies." The end.
That was perfect.
That was perfect.
No notes.
Oh my God.
Actually, the only thing that I would add, though, maybe this is better for general discussion, but I think that this is an extended fart joke. Because it's all about gas bladders releasing gas, making a hissing sound.
I think I would like farts a lot more if you could fly. If they made you fly.
Well, I mean, maybe you just need more gas
Am I
bladders.
just not trying hard enough?
This is like a Mary Poppins situation.
Just a spoon.
All right, goodies from Goodreads. I'm going to kick us off with Bjorn gave it 3 stars, which is, I don't usually venture as high as 3 stars, but this book is weird. So
These were tough.
Yeah. All right. This is B sci-fi at its kookiest, and maybe just the thing for you if you've just finished Moby Dick and were asking yourself, but what if Ishmael survived the wreck, only to be pulled through a dimensional portal aboard the Rachel, somehow triggered by Queequeg's coffin, and ended up on a far future Earth where the seas have evaporated to jelly, and the air is filled with colossal flying beasts, and the future human sky mariners that hunt them? If that is what you were thinking as you finished Moby Dick, I will drive my copy of this book to your house.
That's so good.
That's awesome. that does kind of go into Ben Miller's 3-star review, which begins with, "It had everything missing from Moby Dick: blood-sucking vegetation, time travel labyrinths, and the PBSD, which is what I call the purple.
Oh, the PBSD.
Purple beast of the stinging death.
Beast of the stinging death. I want to call this episode PBSD PTSD.
I wanted to call it Fart Sharks.
All right, well, paper, rock, scissors for that later.
Okay, I have a 2-star review from Jens Rushing.
Yeah.
Oh, you have that one too? I'm going to read this in the sarcastic tone in which I read it in my head, because it is a 2-star review. Shortly after the events of Moby Dick, Ishmael is flung forward in time to 1 bajillion AD. Now whales fly and he hunts them in flying ships, but he must beware of the purple beast of stinging death, the rare sequel that surpasses the original.
It's so good.
So good. Haley, yours was like, man, they packed every high note into that review.
My favorite part is I will drive my copy of this book to your house.
That's so funny. How do we get that person on the show?
I know. That was Bjorn. All right.
Good job, Bjorn.
I found another one on Amazon that made me laugh, but you have to do it in a Trump voice.
Oh no. Oh no.
Philip José Farmer.
Is that your truth?
Stylistically is the finest writer of the English language of the 20th century. He can write an English sentence better than any other writer. That he chose to write science fiction as a bonus for science fiction fans. That's my Trump voice, y'all. I can't do it. He can write an English sentence better than any other writer. I don't think that's true because later on he describes the shark as shark-shaped. I feel like this is maybe just my stand-up bit. I don't know.
This episode is fucked.
Oh man.
It's all coke and laughing.
I'm glad we did that apology at the beginning.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God.
We're all coked up.
I don't know. I think people are going to love this.
Yeah. I already love it. We're having a great time.
Those are my two goodies from Goodreads.
Could you guys
Those are best from Goodreads. I love them.
picture what any of these animals looked like?
So that gets us into a general discussion because
Sorry.
Every, if you Google covers for this book, there's 36 different covers, and none of them are wind whales. They're just whales.
Mine is just a blimp.
Yeah,
It's
there's no sails.
It's just a steampunk blimp.
So
Yeah,
also,
it's definitely not a blimp.
people argue that this is steampunk, and I would argue that it is skin punk or bone punk because,
Fart punk.
yeah, the machine, the flying machines are not made from metal or like cool goggles or like
No.
brass. No.
They're skin and they have mouths and they burp and fart.
Yeah, at one point he's like, I buckled into my bone seat into the bone chair.
And they have to walk carefully so they don't pierce the skin
Yeah.
of their boat.
I was trying to imagine that. It's like just walking around in a little like skin bowl. It's like walking around.
Some of it felt like it could be Doctor Who.
Well, did you ever play that game in elementary school where you get the like parachute?
oh, yeah.
Oh, the skin and you cover yourself
wiggle
in
it,
skin.
and then you put it up and it catches air and you get under it.
I did that, but it was with skin.
Wait, what kind of skin?
So it's like it's like that, but skin. so if you made a boat out of that, that's what I was picturing.
I have a pedantic sailing corner. So he uses the phrase close hauled.
Oh, I
16
wanted you to
times.
tell me what it means.
All right, so close hauled.
Okay. Everybody.
It's like he only knows one type of sailing. So there's a million different points of sail. Like you can go into the wind, which is, to be fair, the fastest way because you like just get real fast. But you can also fall off to the side and like make your sail go. It's called a beam reach. There's a million different ways to sail, but he's always just like, we got to close haul this thing to the wind. So
That's like how I call everything a jib. Because that's the only sail I know.
But Haley,
yeah.
as they said in this book, when you're sailing on water, you're sailing in 2 dimensions. In the sky, you're sailing on 3.
That's true.
You gotta catch all that air.
And I did like that idea because
I thought that was neat.
that is cool. Yeah.
He will say stupid stuff like a shark looks like a shark, but then like something like that, I was like, oh, that's like a smart observation and interesting. To
Yeah,
me.
and I read in the intro that he was very obsessed with lighter than air machines. So he likes sailboats, he liked balloons, but every single cover of this book does not show you what a wind whale looks like or a whale ship.
So I saw one somewhere when I Googled it because the interesting thing was there were sails coming off of the bottom.
Yeah, that's the way. Yeah, like
and
that's
I
how he
thought that was
describes it.
super interesting.
That would be so cool. I mean, it makes sense if you have all that. Like sailboats don't have sails on the bottom because there's water. So no dice.
A whale of a wind turbine is what came up. I meant to search.
And then some of the photos have like the weird shark things with wings, like a shark crossed with a dragonfly. But all of the whales on the covers of these books are just regular ass whales in the sky.
I could have used a cetology chapter in this book, or any chapters for that matter. This book
Yeah.
has no chapters.
It's
It's
one
just
long
all
paragraph.
one long chapter.
Yeah, so this was how I pictured it in my head, and I drew it for you guys.
Yeah, okay. It's
So,
a
like-
Christmas tree farm with Christmas trees growing up and down.
But it makes sense because if the wind is gonna push you this way. So
It's a lobster.
She's fun. She's being ridden by like the sandworms.
Oh, there's a whale, Haley.
Yeah, but that's just a regular ass
It's a
whale.
regular
rides
whale.
the whales.
It doesn't have any bladders.
It doesn't have any bladders or.
The word bladder is in this book 57 times.
That's true. Okay, we talked about. All right, I was a little unclear. So the history of whaling and the world, and Moby Dick especially, is you hunt whales to get whale oil to like light the world.
Mm-hmm.
In this book, they're catching whales to get ivory that makes you drunk, and you carve an idol out of,
And also the meat.
and the meat to feed the bladders to keep the ships going.
They also eat it though.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
It just it was an interesting take, I think, versus like doing it for profit. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Because they're not selling anything out of the. Like, do these people have capitalism? Hard to say.
Not that we know of.
yeah, it's hard to say, but like, some of the fun of Moby Dick is like, in the very beginning, they're like, we will stand watch until like 100 yards from port in case we see an extra whale to like maximize profits for the shareholders.
Right. Did you guys feel like he was trying to imitate Melville at all?
Not at all.
I tried because I was like, I love Moby Dick, and then I was like, oh, he can't write.
And it's so I think that the afterword had some interesting observations that completely missed me. I don't remember
There's
what
an
any of them were.
afterwards?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
About why he
short,
chose
too.
Ishmael over. Oh, no, that was in a review I read.
Oh, mine has an afterword.
Oh, mine
Yeah,
didn't.
mine did too. It was about
weird.
the Wald Newton stuff. Did you get that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Mine just ended and was like, subscribe, and rate. I
I
was like,
thought,
what?
I thought it was a good afterword, and it made some more connections between Moby Dick and this book that I did not see and would not have seen and don't remember. But when I was reading it, I thought, number one, it's interesting because Ishmael tells the story in Moby Dick in first person, and then we shift to third person. And then throughout this whole book, I was like, I'll call him Ishmael, but this is not my Ishmael.
That's how I felt. This is
I
not
don't know
Ishmael.
her.
Yeah, same. This is Tarzan or Indiana Jones.
Like Ishmael is not a go-getter. And the thing that I
No,
think
I guess.
is that the thing that I would have liked to have seen if this book were more fleshed out would be Ishmael's journey from being not a go-getter to the ship's captain, this leader, this kind of a war hero almost by the end of this book. But we don't really see it.
White
We don't really see
savior.
it. Yeah, white savior. We don't really see his journey of rising to the occasion. He just does rise to the occasion.
One of the reviews I read was talking about why write this book with Ishmael? Because
Right.
Ishmael is such a philosopher.
Yes.
He's not a men's adventure fiction guy.
No,
right?
he's not a hero.
Right. So the review was talking about how if you had used someone who was more of a swashbuckler, right, then it wouldn't be quite as believable to follow him around and get all these observations that he has. Because he starts waxing poetic on time, and he starts thinking about evolution, and he starts thinking about what man can do in the remaining million years,
Yeah.
And I don't think your typical John Wick is gonna,
Yeah.
do that. So
That's
it made
true.
a little sense there.
There's a couple of
But then at
of
the
cute
end,
points,
it just
yeah.
turns into an action flick. So,
So
although he does still
Yeah.
have some philosophical musings there.
I've been reading, after I finished this, I started reading a book called Wild and Distant Seas, which is about the women of Nantucket, and it takes place, so the lady that runs the chowder shop, it starts with like a portrait of her life and meeting Queequeg and Ishmael, and her depiction of Ishmael is so good. Like at one point, because there's 2 or 3 days that Ishmael and Queequeg are on Nantucket before they ship off, and he like bakes Queequeg a cake in her kitchen. And it's just like such a sweet portrayal of Ishmael.
Huh.
And it's very different from like, I want a wife, I'm Ishmael. Like, no, Ishmael, you're gay.
There was that one time where he was talking about cuddling with Queequeg.
The counterpane callback.
Yeah, that was good.
When
that was
him
good.
and Namali were cuddled up under a leaf. And as I was reading it, I was like, oh my God, it's like the counterpane. And then he was like, I remembered sharing a bed at the Spouter Inn with
Yeah.
Queequeg.
So I wish there was more. I mean, this is from us though. Like
More
I
gay
want
stuff?
I wanted I wanted more Moby Dick analogs and callbacks.
Yeah, I did. I thought there would be more. There was like
Yeah.
3. The coffin kept popping up though.
He liked that coffin.
And then at the end of the coffin, it was not Chekhov's coffin.
no.
I was like, well, I think he's going to go back, or I think he is going to wake up like Dorothy at the end of The Wizard of Oz, or
That's what I
something.
thought, yeah.
And then he's just like, no, I live here. I'm going to marry this Vestal
I
Virgin.
had that same feeling when we were reading the Riverworld. Was that at some point it was going to be revealed to not be real?
It would make sense.
But these things are real. Like,
Right.
in Philip José Farmer land. Is that right?
Yeah.
Philip José Farmer?
Philip José Farmer.
Yeah, okay. Well, that does sound right. Yeah, in his world, these are real. Like, this just happens and that's where you are now.
Yeah.
Which I kind of appreciate.
And don't worry about the details.
He's not hiding the ball.
Yeah.
He is not. He's not going to play gotcha. Which I appreciate sometimes.
Although River
It's
World
very
does have
straightforward.
a mystery. They're trying to figure out, like, where are we?
Yes.
Why are we here? Who
Yes.
put us here?
But there they shall stay.
That's right.
Yeah.
To get back to whales, because this does need more cetology. Are you familiar with the movie or the play Cats?
I mean, I know what
Yes.
it is.
Okay.
I
So-
watched the movie recently.
Oh,
haven't-
good.
I haven't
Yeah.
I've watched the movie in the new movie
Oh,
in
it's
the
so
past
fun.
year.
It's
Is
so
there
fun.
is there an old movie? Are there more movies?
I
of
think
Cats?
this was on Broadway and then it was this movie.
All I know is
Okay.
that you become a jellicle cat.
Yes. So
And that sometimes Dame Judi Dench is there
she has a butthole.
and
Yeah.
she has a butthole.
Yeah. No, so they get into a little bit into the lore of the whales. And so when the whales die, they go up into this magical place. They become jellicle whales, rising up near to space, and then they fall down to a whale elephant graveyard. But it's a jellicle whale.
It is a jellicle whale. It is a jellicle whale.
All right, we're just flying
There
through
was
all of my
also-
talking points.
There was also I thought there was going to be a Chekhov's whale death place because like the death place.
Oh, yeah.
there was some resource there, wasn't there?
yeah. It's like they
The
make
ivory.
the ivory that
Yes.
they carve gods out of that also gets you drunk when you smell
I thought maybe they were going to go there and get that. but
Yeah,
they didn't.
I thought they would too because Ishmael had his little philosophical aside about it, which was another good moment.
Yes.
Where
Yeah.
she was like, "Oh, the purple beast of the stinging death lives there because," and then he's like, "Well, how do you know?" And she's like, "Well, because no one ever comes back, so obviously it lives there." And he's kind of like, "Whoa, woo, people just stay the same, don't they?" And it's like a very modern observation.
Did the purple beast of the stinging death have a native name?
Yes,
Yes.
it did.
Okay.
So all of the names are, I think, vaguely offensive and racist.
So that was mentioned at the. I think it was in the afterward. It was either an afterward or the same review I read. There was one review I read that was very erudite. But he was talking about how old Philip really likes languages. And
Oh,
he-
yeah.
and he actually based these on actual words. So I don't know if that makes it more or less offensive, honestly.
Yeah,
but
I mean, I don't know if it's like patently racist. It just seems like he was. They're so over the top. Like this is what a white man would call a native paradise. I don't know.
Right,
So,
yeah.
like Zuma Schmarda. Like it sounds like a funny word.
yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting that he chose. It's interesting that he chose this area of the world, but it makes sense because that's where Ishmael was when he
True.
fell off the Pequod or whatever.
A million years in the future, though, man, he couldn't be like, and we call this the tiger beast,
Right.
or like more things like the purple singing death. Like he gave them English and like native names, which is fascinating.
Yeah, I guess it was just Ishmael making up names in his head. Also, how quickly did Ishmael learn this language?
He got
Oh,
fluent
so
real
fast.
quick.
Yeah,
Fluent
just like
real
a few
quick.
days. Another thing I thought was funny was when Namali was describing the leader of her community, and he was like, basically the king, but the word translated more accurately into English as Grand Admiral. And I was like, really? Like, how do you have enough context to know that it's more accurately is Grand Admiral
I guess because he leads people into battle.
on boats?
I guess.
I don't even know. The only Grand Admiral I know is Thrawn.
Yeah,
That's not
I've
a real
never,
person.
I've never heard of a Grand Admiral.
Well, in America, in
What is
England, we
that?
only have admirals.
We just have regular admirals.
yeah, you got
right?
rear admirals when they're like doing butt stuff.
Sounds
now.
dirty.
I was about to make that joke, so I'm glad you did it.
No, a rear admiral's underneath an admiral. But yeah,
Yeah, it is.
Doing butt stuff.
true. Is this just Sharknado?
No, it's a 150-page fart joke.
Okay, how about Sharknado?
I will say I'm glad that in this world whales didn't go extinct and they get to then become whales of the sky that are still hunted.
They can't get a break.
They cannot get a break. And there's only the one kind. It's just
Yeah.
the one kind in the sky.
And I guess the ivory in them is like the spermaceti.
Yeah.
What did you guys make of the man-eating cockroaches?
Sorry,
No.
Amy. They were gross.
Thoughts and prayers, babe.
So I have a pretty significant fear of cockroaches, and neither of these two supposed friends of mine warned me that this book contained.
Didn't think about it. A
And,
9-inch
Like I was
cockroach.
reading, and the cockroach was there, and I was like, okay, there's a cockroach, and then it was 9 inches long. I was like, okay, I'm getting chill bumps. It was 9 inches long. I was like, okay, it's evolved. I get it. And then he was paralyzed, and the cockroach was eating his earlobe. And I was like, this is literally the most horrific thing I've ever read.
Meanwhile, one time there was a snake on my front porch, and Amy picked it up and was
Yeah.
like, look how cute it is.
Yeah, things that could actually hurt me. I have
But
no problem
then, like,
with.
a roach scuttles by, also on my porch, and Amy's like, "Well, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
It's been nice
I
being
just don't
friends."
like, they're very unpredictable.
I hate snakes, but I don't have quite the aversion that you do.
Ugh,
I guess because I don't see snakes very often. So,
I don't. Snakes are fine.
No, she likes a snake. She picked it up.
but they got that snake smell. They
Yeah, I
got
tried to make everybody smell the snake smell.
They got that
I
snake
know
titty.
about a snake musk, and I'm not
Snake musk.
interested in it.
Yeah, that was bad. And then but we did get a glimpse of a couple good animals. There was the double-nosed monkey bear beast, which was fun.
There's a lot of the feelings of like when Luke lands on Dagobah and he's like, "What's all this weird shit?"
Yeah.
I thought about the sparrow, where they were like little green guys
Yeah.
and Richard Nixons and Franciscans.
I liked the weird little symbiotic relationship they have with the blood-sucking plants.
Yeah, they're
where
like,
if you just
let it
if you just give in and relax. It
I
gets
like
better.
the water they drink that makes you sleepy for 15 minutes.
People pay good money for that in our world.
I know.
Yeah, I wonder what narcotic was in those things, man. Let's talk about the Mary Sue of it all. I know you're not supposed to use that phrase anymore, and I can't remember why.
I think we should weaponize it because people love to use it against women. So
I can't remember why.
Yeah,
we're not
I
supposed to use it anymore,
strictly only call a man a Mary Sue.
but- yeah, so
Yeah.
like Ishmael. Not to jump ahead to my misogynist moment or anything. I have several, but he starts telling Namali about her own world. Did y'all catch that?
yes,
Like like he
Yeah.
lands, he meets her, then suddenly he's like, there's a lot of stingers on this thing. It's like, okay, Ishmael, calm down. And then he just takes over this whole civilization by
yeah, this is
learning to make bombs and like
napalm. Yeah,
and hourglasses.
I don't think there was
And-
even bombs in 1850 like this. Like
I mean, I guess they had gunpowder. So I
Yeah.
guess they knew about explosives.
this hashtag not my Ishmael.
Man, it was
Yeah.
like, where did that come from?
Ishmael. So the purest glimpse of Ishmael I get in this when he's put to work on the sky ship because he's like, well, I've worked on a boat. A boat's a boat. And he's like, I know how to wait through time because I'm a sailor.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's something Ishmael would say. He wouldn't be like, let me marry this princess and then go to war. No, he would never
Nope.
say that.
Yeah, there are glimpses of Ishmael in this book.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe Philip José Farmer wrote some like good pithy Ishmael thoughts and then like fleshed out in between them with
Sprinkled
like
them in.
7-page descriptions of a corridor in the Temple of Doom.
Yeah. The last third of this book is just the Temple of Doom.
I liked the Maze of Horrors. I was getting into it. It turned
Did
into a
you?
little bit of a page turner for me. Yeah, because I'd gotten a little bit bored, and then they they go into this very far away city that has the same layout as the city that they were just in.
It's like a Holiday Inn.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of creepy. They had to fight these spiders they couldn't see, and then there was the weird tentacle things they couldn't see, and then there was the stone beast who I found very creepy.
I just thought it all
He
went
reminded
on.
me of the Weeping Angel.
He
Oh.
spends 10 pages on the spider web.
Yeah, it just went on for
Yeah.
too long for me.
I-
I did think it
that's
was
true.
scary.
I would love to watch it, but I did not have fun reading that
It
part.
made me think of Shalab. Is that
Don't,
Hobbit or
don't
Lord?
get ahead of ourselves.
Oh. Oh. I'm sorry. Okay.
But yeah, I thought the invasion scenes were pretty. I thought they were engaging.
I think it's clear that that's what he wanted this book to mainly be about, was
Yeah.
to be the adventure.
He wanted to show us the world, and he wanted to have some swashbuckle.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
that part would be a fun movie. I think this would be a great video game. Because you get to, like, live in, like,
Yeah,
This weird
it
world.
would be a fun
So,
video
yeah.
game.
Yeah. I
You can fly your ship around.
So I was going to say about all those descriptions of everything, I think that he has the opposite of what I have. He has a very detailed imagination for setting, and I'm just not good at that. Like if something is taking place in a room in a house, in my imagination it's just like a gray box.
Yeah,
And the
same.
people are just sort of like candle-shaped blurs moving around. So I don't have a very good visual imagination. So when he's like, and 25 feet up ahead, the corridor veered 30 degrees to the north by northeast, and it took us 45 seconds to walk there. And I'm like, this means nothing to me. Is it far? Is it close? Just use one of those words. It means
Yeah.
nothing to me. So I got very bored, even though I thought the spider stuff was cool and the stone beast was cool. But reading it, I was just like, holy God, when is this going to be over?
Yeah, like, the way that he described Namali's face, it's so specific, but also, I still had just, like, a blank gray box.
Also,
I liked
she's
it 'cause it was so stupid, though.
Only person we get described to us in the whole book.
And her chin saves her from being ugly.
Chin! That's my,
Don't worry, I have that written down for later.
I have that for later, too. It's so funny.
Yeah, like, what I think it's impossible to completely. I mean, you can say things like, oh, she had beautiful blue eyes or a big forehead or brown hair. But like once you get into like her forehead was 3/4 the size of her cheeks, I was like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We have flown through all of my talking points, so.
I guess I started that when I was talking about the description of the setting that I just thought some of the writing was so boring. But then there were other things that, for example, they would say things like, I don't know what's happening, but it might be this, or it might be this, or it might be a third thing. And then they would explain all of those things, and then it wouldn't go anywhere. And I have an example of that. So Nomily asked Ishmael, what caused something in the Temple of Doom to move? And Ishmael says, I don't know, but I strongly suspect that the activating mechanism is triggered by a bright light applied in a certain sequence to each of the shafts. Perhaps there is no necessary sequence, or it may be that just a certain number have to be exposed to bright light. I do not know. And then he just keeps going. There's like another paragraph after that, but nothing ever comes of it. They're never like, oh, I was right. It is a light sequence.
Oh, no, that's not true.
Does something come of it?
After he says that and they go shoot a bunch of priests and steal the little gods, they run back to that door and he has to wave the light around to get the door to open.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You're right. Well, I still didn't need...
but it's still...
I still didn't need a page of him speculating about...
still with you on that.
I don't know, but it could... And also, like, how does he know that it could be?
I don't know, but
Ishmael knows everything in this book.
Here's a very detailed explanation, but I'm just spitballing here.
It makes me think about that one Goodreads review that we had from Dragonflight, where someone was like, they talk about what they're going to do, and then they do it, and then they talk about the thing that they just did. And it's like, is it a word count thing?
Sometimes this book reads like the Narantel gem. And I'm trying to find
the red Narantel gem.
Yeah, because sometimes he'll say something, they'll be like, and that's because the dogs are blue. Like he like does a premise and then backs it up with a fake premise, and it's just like, and that's the way it is.
In this essay, I will.
Yeah,
Haley. Whenever I'm watching a movie that has like stilted dialogue, whenever Kevin and I are watching a movie with stilted dialogue, I'll just abruptly go, "He hates the twins. He hates the twins."
Oh yeah. Perfect example, highlight page 19. Since they were about 5,000 feet high, they could not at that time be seen in detail. Like, okay, there's better ways to say that. And also, did 13-year-old me write that? I don't know. All right, feminist favorite.
I liked it when Ishmael stood up to give the rousing Christmas Day speech, and only the women were listening. He looks out. He's like, the women were very attentive. The men were looking at their feet.
My favorite is when they get to the inner temple of Boraganga, and the temple priests are feather dusting all the idols and sweeping. It's like feather dusting and feather brooming, and and I just imagine them in like maid outfits, just being like, "Oh, you got to get the dust off."
I don't have one.
They do run a very tidy house.
They do. You gotta dust your idols.
They had just cleaned up behind the stone beast too.
All right, misogynist moment.
I mean, I had a couple.
I have a couple also.
Mine was at the end. He describes Nomily as, she was soft and warm, and in her was love and the promise of children. That's all we're good for, really.
Well, I guess when you're trying to rebuild a society, it does become a little more immediate.
Yeah, I was like more forgiving of that, because I was like, well, they need people.
Need a womb here and there. I was not into her being continually called a girl.
If you are going to marry someone and you're an adult man, don't call her a girl. It's weird.
True.
I have Ishmael mansplaining gender relations to Nomily.
There was a lot of mansplaining in this book.
In my world, the male is expected to defend the female. That is the principle, at least, though the practice is often to the contrary. I haven't time to discuss the principles or their reason. You do what I say. Impulsively, he kissed her on the mouth. Sir.
Was that, I was going to say for my feminist favorite that at least the concept of consent was in here, because he was like, she didn't want him to do certain things. He did not do them. That was nice.
Oh.
But then that happened.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that okay?
The other thing I thought of is that he respected her saying no, but explained it with, oh, she's the Vestal Virgin, that's why. Like, she has to have a reason. Like, people don't have to have a reason that they don't want to hook up with you.
Right past me.
There doesn't have to be a reason. But I did think that in terms of misogynist moments, this book nowhere near approaches To Your Scattered Bodies Go.
No.
Nowhere near. There are no comparisons of butts to eggs. Nomily wears clothes.
Yeah.
She's pretty smart.
And she's like a very minor character.
She's very capable.
She is very capable.
And she goes on the raid and is not a damsel in distress except for like one time. But then everybody at some point on that raid was a damsel in distress.
They always put a Vestal Virgin on the ship because it's good luck.
Which I thought women were bad luck on ships.
And
yeah, that's changed.
The 19th century, but not in 1000 AD.
We've evolved.
Yeah.
I also think that he has a fair amount of respect for her. Like, I think that the mansplaining is actually just Farmer's very clumsy exposition.
She's the only one there.
She's the only one there,
that's
yeah.
true,
And
that's
that's
true.
like how Farmer is telling us things because he's like not that great at it. He's an idea man.
Yeah, that's right.
He should have been like an ad man.
I think I had less of a problem with the, quote unquote mansplaining than I did with Ishmael just suddenly knowing everything. That bothered me more. That he didn't ask anybody about any of this. He was just like, I know how to make explosives.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to bring war and famine to your people.
Bags.
Well, that
Gas
takes
bags
me
should
to
be
my
in
second misogynist moment, if you'll indulge me.
Yes, I will.
So, when they were in the Temple of Doom, Nomily had the good idea to put out their torches because it was dark in there, and if they put out their lights, they'd be better able to see any small sources of light that might indicate where there was a door or an opening. And so she says that, and Ishmael, instead of just being like, oh, great idea, that's what we should do, they do it, but he cursed himself because he had not thought of it.
He didn't think of it, Lori.
He can't just be like, oh, thank God, a plan. He's like,
A woman thought of it first.
Ugh, how embarrassing.
Boob talk, it's remarkably chaste.
Yeah, thank God we know she's slim. It was as earlier mentioned, it's the chin that saved her from ugliness.
that is the funniest thing I've ever read, though.
The
it's
mouth-
so stupid.
Is it like a big chin, a little chin, no chin?
It saved her from ugliness. That's
That
all we need
chin-
to know.
The chin is working hard.
And it carried her off to beauty. I remember that was the other part.
I can't imagine a strong chin saving a woman from beauty, but
The mouth is full and pleasant. It was important that we know that as well. And I really hate it. This bugs me every time I see this. When we're like, the mouth, the forehead, the eyebrows. Like we're picking apart her pieces.
yeah.
which is funny because
You mean the pieces.
Right.
because in English we say like raise your hand. In French you say
the hand was raised.
yeah, like in French you say lève la main, which means raise the hand. And if you ask a French person, they're Emmanuel, this is you. People say, well, whose else hands are you going to raise? I remember saying that in French class because in English we say, I'm going to raise my hand. So, but the fact that he makes the tonal shift.
Touche.
Yeah, raise the hand.
Amy just raised my hand and grazed my left boob.
The boob.
I really did not know what was happening. I was like, why is Amy touching my boob?
Raise-
Well, I figured you had a good
hand
reason.
was just near your boob.
I trust you, so I wasn't offended or frightened.
I guess
figured you
it
had a
comes
good
down
reason.
to when you do an examination of a person's body not using personal pronouns, it becomes even more objectified. I don't know.
Right.
In English,
Yeah.
yes.
In English. In French, it's different, yeah.
Right. How hard would it have been to be like, her mouth was
Her
full.
beautiful mouth. The mouth.
I have a kind of an avant-garde boob talk.
Ooh.
The air sharks were described as follows.
Shark shaped.
I'm already excited.
There was a huge hump on the body just in back of the head, the two humps creating a dromedary effect that was more sinister than comforting. No man would care to ride between those hump
I
bulges.
highlighted that too. What does that mean?
Hump bulges?
Yes, it says hump bulges.
Is it like
They got boobs on there. They got a head and then they got a big bladder and they look like boobs.
Is it like no shark homo? I don't know.
I think he's just like, those boobs look scary.
Maybe he finds breasts mildly threatening. That's why Nomily didn't have
Like,
any.
I'm not gonna get on those humps.
Breasts on a shark. I mean, a flying shark.
Shark teats.
What you gonna do with all those shark humps?
My lovely bladder lumps. Check it out.
The only food that I found was the cockroach meat meal.
There was pods.
It was well steamed and served with a delicious brown red sauce, piles of rice on a pale blue grain, and a dark orange gravy. He's describing the imaginary dinner in Hook. I'm pretty sure.
The whale meat was strange but delicious.
Is that how you describe it, Amy? Whale meat?
Have you had whale meat
I have had whale meat.
in Iceland?
Here's the problem with my whale meat experience. I had whale, horse, and puffin all at the same time.
That's too much weird.
And I cannot recall which is which now because it was many years ago. It was
All
10 years
three
ago.
of them are friends, not food.
If I remember correctly, the whale was a little bit oily.
I believe that.
And the puffin was the
Famously
best.
oily. I thought you said puffin was oily.
Did I say it the other way around last time? I don't remember.
I've definitely heard you say puffin was oily.
All right. I saved the soap stuff for Lori.
Okay.
okay.
So, my soap stuff is that he lands 1 trillion years in the future into a whaling community.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, what are the odds?
That's
What
true.
are the odds? 100% apparently. And that's my soap stuff.
I thought it was at least a little soapy that they end up in Boomerang or wherever they go. And they've spent months planning this trip, right? Months, possibly a year. I don't know.
You have no idea.
And when they get there, Namali's like, "Oh, BT dubs. There's monsters here."
Temple Guardian.
And he's like, "Oh." And then I think it's then that they find out that the layout is all the same as the place they
How
left.
convenient.
I don't know. That struck me as kind of unnecessarily dramatic.
Sometimes you don't think of the things that someone doesn't know.
That's true.
Because everyone knows, in her community, everyone would know that there would be monsters guarding the temple.
Right, but nobody talked about it while we were doing logistics.
Yeah, when
That's
he's like
true.
inventing.
That's true. It
he's
would be
bringing
less about
war.
telling him and more about being
Like,
like, how do
hey,
we get around the spiders?
We should save one of these big fire bombs for that room that's going to be full
you're
of
right.
spiders.
You're right.
How dare you point out a plot hole in this masterpiece?
Yeah, I guess it's more of a plot hole than on soap stuff. But to me, soap stuff sometimes just means plot holes that are filled
Yeah.
with something
It's like,
clunky.
oh, he had amnesia.
Yeah.
Or it explains casting changes or all kinds of things. Pregnancies.
Yeah, if they changed the actress who played Namali halfway through the book, would that be soap stuff?
For sure.
I found, normally I don't mind long chapters. I know it gets on Lori's nerves, but like, I found myself fantasizing about chapter breaks. I was like, oh, where could it be?
Yeah.
Did you say you were reading the Zadie Smith book about the tick-borne claimant?
No, but I want to. It's on my
Some of
TBR,
those
yeah.
chapters are literally like a
Shit.
paragraph long.
Oh.
Makes it go real fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I think that's why Page Turner books, like Dan Simmons books, like, it just makes you, not Dan Simmons, Dan Da Vinci Code.
Brown.
It just makes things seem easier. I don't know.
For sure.
There's a
I
lot-
also like having a stopping point. Like
Yeah.
when I was reading this last night and I was like, I wish I just had a chapter where I could give myself a goal. I mean, instead I had to be like, I'm going to stop at, I guess, page 120 and hope that that's a viable stopping point.
Or even,
My stopping point was always when I inevitably fell asleep.
yeah. Or even like if there was a double space between two paragraphs, indicating that
There
sometime
were a
passed.
few of those.
Yeah, but not many towards the
no,
end.
No, Mm-mm. He just sat down and started typing and didn't stop.
Yep. Okay. Did you like the book?
Kinda. I liked the first half of it, and then I started to get bored. But when he first got there and was like, oh, look at this flying shark. Oh, look at this little guy who drinks my blood and gives me a nap. Oh, look at this very large insect that I won't name. I was having fun with that. I thought it was fun to walk around and look at all the weird stuff, kind of like in not Ringworld. What's the
Sparrow.
other BDO? No.
Rendezvous with Rama.
Yep, that's the one. That's the Badger. That's the one. Rendezvous with Rama. Because I liked that. I liked the just wandering around and looking at things.
Yeah.
But at a point, I was like, okay.
I get
and,
it.
and it started with when they were hunting a whale and he was on the ship and they hunted the whale for like 15 pages. And from there on, I felt very bogged
Which,
down.
weirdly, we were really into from Moby Dick.
Yeah, I actually wanted more whale content.
Yeah. Yeah. Something about it was just, maybe Melville was a better writer. I mean, I don't know. I'm going
He's
to.
better at putting you in the moment and giving you the humanity of it all.
I'm not going to tell anybody what to think, but for me, Melville was the better writer.
But this is the sequel that surpassed the original.
That's true.
I did like it. I appreciated reading this after The Sparrow because it was just a rollicking yarn.
Yeah,
It
true,
wasn't-
yes.
You didn't have to do too much digging in.
There's no like very few universal human truths.
And I can appreciate a book
Yeah.
that's just a story.
If I was
You know?
13 in like 1971, this would have
Come
been
on.
amazing.
It'd be great.
It's silly and fun.
Yeah.
And I like weird stuff. So I like the idea of like, oh, the ocean is like a big bowl of jello.
Yeah,
And
there's always earthquakes.
that stuff is fun.
Yeah. I wish it had been a novella or a short story. And I wanted more whales and better sailing descriptions. But other than that,
He needed to learn a thing or two about sailing.
Or
In the
just, like,
sky,
there was
you're
not
just close
not
haul.
a single knot.
it would be like describing driving. The only way you could drive is if you floored it. That's how I would use the analogy.
Okay, thanks.
Instead of being like, he Tokyo drifted or he slammed on the brakes. It's like, nope, he floored it again.
Drifted.
I wish they'd Tokyo drifted one of these whaleboats. That'd be great.
They could because they go in all the directions.
That's right.
It's like the Wonkavator.
Well, I feel like the whales kind of Tokyo drifted them because the whales would like
They would pull
take
them.
a nosedive while they were harpooned and then like right as they were
That's
about to
true.
hit the ground and then crash the ship into the ground, and that was pretty cool.
That was a fun little maneuver.
We call that a Zalorapamtra sleigh ride. else is gonna get that.
If you get that one, please let us know.
I think about Nantucket sleigh rides once a week.
Nantucket sleigh rides. God bless.
Is this book Star Wars or Lord of the Rings?
Ooh.
Amy.
It's Lord of the Rings. Because it has a Shelob.
Explain what that is.
So when little Samwise Gamgee and Frodo get to Mordor, there's a big-ass spider that blocks their way, and they have to get past to get to where they gotta go.
Is she also in The Hobbit, or is it different spiders?
There are different spiders in The Hobbit.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of spiders in the forest.
Oh, that's right.
If
And
I
Bilbo
remember
has to
correctly.
save
It's been a
the
while since I read The Hobbit. But
Dwarves who get spidered.
Right.
They get stung and rolled up, and
Yes. Correct.
he has to move
Yes,
very quietly and save them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that argument is correct, but I will submit the amicus brief that this is Indiana Jones with a pinch of Sharknado.
I love it.
Also with a little bit of Legends of the Hidden Temple.
It is very Indiana Jonesy. That's 100%.
Yeah.
True.
And so Philip José Farmer also wrote like Tarzan and like Edgar Rice Burroughs style adventure fiction. So that makes
This
sense.
is his Wald Newton.
I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, what is that?
So there's a town in England that got hit by a meteor or something like that, right? And
Like, actually.
I only know enough about this to be dangerous. So I know that there's somebody out there that's going to be like,
No, actually.
But basically, Philip was like, okay, but what if that meteor gave certain people and their descendants extra abilities? So he uses that to explain Tarzan and
Oh, that's cool.
Sherlock Holmes.
And like John Carter Mars.
And so there's some people were trying to make an argument that this version of Ishmael was a Wald Newton version of Ishmael. So he's got heightened intelligence and he's got more going for him.
I think that's harmless.
I don't know where we landed on that, but that's the Philip Wald Newton thing, more or less.
Cool.
Also, his great nephew wrote the afterword.
Oh, nice.
Cute. All right. The Wind Whales. We did it.
It was funny that it was called the Wind Whales of Ishmael. I don't think he owned them. But
Yeah, and they're
Wind Whales
honestly,
belong to no one.
they're not in the book that much.
They're really not.
We
Like, I
get
expected
one
more whales.
Solara Pomtrin sleigh ride, and for the most part, that's it.
yeah.
It's
yeah.
really more. There's more sharks.
We'll need to workshop a better title, guys. What's next?
Our next Hugo Award-winning novel that we'll be dissecting will be Fountains of Paradise by Arthur C. Clarke. And we can't wait to see you.
Love that.
Bye.
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 And stay tuned just one more second for a special message.
Hugo girl. Hugo girl. Hugo girl. A hilarious podcast.
If you aren't familiar with Locus Magazine, they're a long-standing and respected website, magazine, archive, and resource for science fiction, fantasy, and horror. In addition to publishing author interviews, book reviews, curated reading lists, international industry news, obituaries, and more, they also run the annual Locus Awards. On a personal note, Locus senior editor Arlie Sorg really went out of his way to reach out last year so that we could be included in their 2022 year in review issue. The spam filter did its best, but Arlie persevered and we got to be included, so they do good work and they're good eggs. Locus is holding their annual fundraiser drive to keep their doors open, lights on, and future bright. I'll be contributing to their crowdfunding campaign, and if you would like to join in to support their fundraiser, you can click the link in the show notes to access their Indiegogo campaign and check out the rewards they have on offer.